Welcome to Not in a Huff with Jackson Huff, where we interview newsmakers, storytellers, and all-around interesting people. Sit back, relax, unless you're driving, and enjoy the show. Here's Jackson.
Hello. I am Jackson Huff. This is Not in a Huff. Thanks so much for joining me. As always, really appreciate it. This week I'm interviewing Lucy Westlake. Now, Lucy is an amazing young person doing some awesome things. You know I don't like to dwell on age. We dwell on it just a moment here because she's the youngest person to do several things. The youngest American woman to reach the summit of Mount Everest. One of the youngest people to reach the highest peak, highest elevation in all 50 states. We joke about that because obviously there's some states that the highest elevation is nothing more than basically a speed bump, if you will. But that's why we're kind of talking about the youngest part of things. But she's done such amazing things. Scaling Mount Everest, that's one thing. That's one thing all in itself. That's a major thing. But just the countless mountains that she's scaled, the peaks that she's reached, between Denali and Alaska, of course, Mount Everest, Kilimanjaro, all of these amazing, famous peaks that she's scaled is just really, really cool. At a young age, or even as an adult, obviously, I'm pretty confident that most of us are sitting here listening, having done none of those. So it doesn't even matter that she's young; just doing that in her life, period, it would just be a fascinating conversation. So I really, really enjoyed speaking with Lucy. We're going to go into what it was like, scaling Mount Everest, what it has been like scaling all of these other mountains, what it even means to be a mountaineer versus a mountain climber, what it's like to compete in some of these other challenges that she's competing in, between scaling all the highest mountains, reaching the North and the South Pole, all these amazing things that she's currently doing and trying to be the youngest to do. She also, right after our interview, which was a few weeks ago, she was flying to California and taking part in the ESPYs, which is the ESPN Awards ceremony, for doing amazing things at a young age. The Billie Jean King Award is what she received. That has already aired. You can go watch the ESPYs from this year, 2022, and see Lucy Westlake be honored. She was just gearing up for that when we had our conversation, and super excited about that. But I think the important part of that is to see that that award is for young people doing amazing things outside of sports. The sporting world and her scaling these mountains is absolutely amazing and awesome all on its own. But then the other side of things, and working with some communities in Africa, working with making sure that people are provided clean, accessible drinking water. She's an amazing person. She's got such a bright future ahead. We're going to talk about what some of that future is. We're going to talk about mountain climbing, what got her into it, her experiences, preparing for the ESPYs. Just such an amazing conversation. I know you're going to be inspired by this one. Here is Lucy Westlake. I'm here today with Lucy Westlake. Lucy, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to talk to you.
I'm excited to talk to you as well. I got a lot of questions for you. And the first one, I guess, is just introduce us to Lucy.
Yeah, so I'm 18 years old, and I am a mountaineer and runner. I most recently, this past May, actually became the youngest American woman to summit Everest. So that is my latest, big kind of like big accomplishment. But I've been climbing since I was 7 years old. And I'm gonna be running at University of Southern California in the fall, cross country and track. So I'm super excited for that too. So yeah, that's kind of like my background, but there's a lot to get into, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, that you said that's your kind of your latest thing, but you've done a lot. So that latest thing is huge, but there's a lot before that too. And I want to get into that, but I want to kind of go back to the beginning and what created this adventurous spirit? Has your family always been somebody who just goes out and does crazy stuff? Did you kind of pull everybody along with you, or how did that happen?
Yeah, so my family was never mountaineers, but we are always, very adventurous people. Love the outdoors, love nature. So when I was younger, I was always just very exposed to that. And my family actually stumbled upon high pointing when I was 7 years old. Just kind of, we were out on a mission trip with our church, and someone down the road was like, "Oh, like there's the high point of Kentucky right down the road." So we went and did that, and just loved the idea, the concept of being the tallest person in the state, because high pointing is going and climbing the top of every state. So that was just so super cool. My family travels a lot, so we all got into that, but my brother wasn't so into it. So my mom used to stay back with him, and it kind of became my dad and me's our adventure. So it's really become my passion since then. And my dad, I kind of pull him along, but he loves it too. But yeah, he definitely he does it for me. So I'm really blessed to have him as a climbing partner.
Yeah, absolutely. And I heard you in another interview, which we may get into later on when we talk a little bit about some of your treks, but you talked about how you're kind of the more, technically savvy person in this, and you kind of are leading him, which I always thought was kind of interesting, that you're the leader of the group.
Yeah, it is kind of, a role reversal in a way, like you would, from what you would think. But yeah, my dad he's very, very kind of like ADHD, like doesn't like, he can't focus super well. So I definitely am better with like the ropes, the technical side of climbing. And we just have learned, along the way, along our climbing. My first mountain I really learned technical skills on is Mount Rainier, which is the highest mountain in the lower 48 high points, the continental, or sorry, it's not the high point, but it's like the hardest mountain out of the lower 48. Mount Whitney in California is actually the highest, but sometimes highest isn't the hardest. So that's the mountain I did when I was 11, and I just learned how to use ice axe, crampons, all of that gear, which is amazing, and I've been using a lot since in my mountaineering. But that's where we really learned together how to use that stuff, and he can use that, but just the ropes and more that angle. I am more kind of the leader in that aspect.
Yeah, well, leader or not, both of you guys, I'm just kind of in awe of I've watched several of your YouTube videos, some of these, things that you've done. In my old age now, I have realized that I'm a little bit afraid of heights. Just watching your videos just almost sends my heart like, oh my God, I would not be able to do this. So I more power to both of you. I think that's awesome. And you've mentioned both words, mountaineering and climbing. I know they're kind of a little bit different. Tell us kind of what the difference is between those two.
Yeah, so climbing is more of when I think of climbing, it's more like rock climbing almost. Kind of that, that like free solo aspect where you're like actually on the rock. Mountaineering is more like glacier. It's a mix between like hiking and climbing almost. So it depends on the mountain, what you actually have to do. Sometimes it does require actual like rock climbing. Sometimes it requires ice climbing. Sometimes it's just, hiking across a glacier. Sometimes it's hiking across, rock, stone. So it kind of is like more of an all-encompassing term of just, you get to the top of the mountain, however you can. So I've done a bit of everything with my mountaineering just over the years. I would say the thing I've probably done least is rock climbing, just because only one of the mountains I've ever kind of set my sights on has had that. But I really want to get more into that aspect of mountaineering, because I really like that. It's one of my favorite parts that I've done, and I really like the more like technical parts like that, the climbing, the ice climbing, which I haven't done much ice climbing either, but it's in the Khumbu Icefall. That's the most technical part of Everest. There was a good amount of vertical pitches. So that was really fun to do, and that was like my favorite part. So yeah, it's something the climbing and mountaineering, and there are slightly different terms, but it's a very all-encompassing sport when you get into it.
No, I that makes sense. I'm sure you have to be able to do both of them to be successful in the things that you've done for sure. I know that you kind of hold the distinction of being the youngest this and the youngest woman to do other things. Was this something that you set out to do? Was that the plan, or once you realized it was kind of a mad rush to, I guess, be the youngest? Because obviously you never get younger. Every day you're getting a little older. So was there kind of a rush to get that done, or was it just like, oh, that's awesome, didn't know that was the case at all?
Kind of a combination. So when I first started high pointing, I didn't really think I was going to do all 50 even, didn't really have that goal in mind. But like the more and more I did, and actually after Mountaineer, after I did that, I was like, I want to do all 50. And I decided that, and I was 11 years old, and the record for the youngest person to summit all 50 state high points was 19. So I had a very long time to do that. Yeah. So I was like, wow, like this is something I could definitely do. So then that kind of became my goal, to not only do all 50, but to become the youngest woman to do that. Mm. So that's kind of how that goal came about. But then after I completed that about a little over a year ago now, I then kind of set my sights on being the youngest person to do the Explorers Grand Slam. And that, and I've been doing a few mountains. Like I've already climbed, when I set that goal, 3 of the 7 highest mountains in each continent, which the Explorers Grand Slam is climbing the top of each continent, the highest mountain in each continent, and then also skiing to the last degree of the North and the South Poles. So I had already done 3 of them. And the youngest person is 20. So that is more of like, I initiated that like desire to really actually try to break a record. With my high pointing, it was more just like, I love being in the mountains. I love adventuring. And then it just kind of happened to work out. But this goal is definitely like one that's set, and one that I am on a bit of a time crunch for sure, because I'm 18 and a half. So I have like a year and a half to do the 2 more high points of the different continents. I have Antarctica's high point and Oceania's high point. Then also skied to the last degree in the North and South Poles. And just the money that it takes to do that, the time it takes to do that is definitely challenging, especially going into college and starting going to be running. So I hope that all works out. But yeah, definitely time crunch right now.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. I want to talk about the Explorers Grand Slam a little bit more later. But yeah, the 50 high points in all, every state. Obviously there's some very challenging ones kind of out west and probably in the Appalachians and all that. But I just want to hear, I guess I'm from Indiana, you're from Illinois. Did you even realize you had the highest point when you came to Indiana or to Illinois? Because I think you could drive by that and miss it. So how was that? Was that a challenging one for you?
It's true. Definitely. Yeah, no, neither of those are challenging, but there's a little marker at the top of each high points, like it's almost like a pin. And that's like how and sometimes you really have to look for that. Like sometimes it's hard to find. I remember, so I think it was like Florida or somewhere like that. It was just in the middle of like this neighborhood, and like we were like walking around this neighborhood trying to find this little pin, like where is this? So yeah, sometimes they can be so hard to miss. And it's really one of the things I loved about high pointing and the adventure of it is that you'll see places in the country that you would never ever just see. Like you wouldn't go to the middle of Kansas and go to Mount Sunflower normally, but yeah, and you get to know the country really well by doing that. So that's something I really like about it, actually.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you want to laugh, go on TripAdvisor sometime. The highest point in Indiana is Hoosier Hill. It's like 1,200 feet elevation. It's nothing. And some people write on there like, I saw the marker, I was just out walking my dog, and then I realized, oh, I'm at the highest point. Like it's just no one even really knows because it's nothing. So I always think that's kind of funny that people just stumble across it. Obviously, one of the biggest mountains. You've done so many things, but the one that everyone knows is, of course, Mount Everest. You did that relatively recently, like a year ago. Tell us a little bit about that experience. I know there's a ton of people that do like the 14 to 20-day trek to base camp, but that's just part of it. And then there's so much more to it. So talk a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so in total, it took me 27 days up and down to climb Everest. And I did it, yeah, not too long ago at all. It was an amazing experience. I went up, I trekked to base camp. That took me 8 days. And I actually went with a team with my dad. He went with me up to base camp. And then 10 other people, just like family and friends. So it was super cool to just, be with people that I love and connect with people I haven't seen in a while. So, and up to base camp, it's basically like hard hiking, I'd say. I wouldn't call it mountaineering. You're not on glacier at all. You don't need technical gear. It's just, some long hikes, which are absolutely gorgeous. You get to go over these like suspended bridges, and the Himalayas are absolutely breathtaking. So I totally see why people would do that. I definitely recommend, because to get to base camp, like you definitely have to be in shape, and it is at 17,000 feet of elevation. So altitude, you never really know how altitude is going to affect your body until you're there. It hits a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So that like not everyone makes it to base camp because of the altitude as well. But just like, it's a great way to begin getting into the mountains. And that's an amazing goal for a lot of people. And then after base camp, the real like mountaineering starts. So you get on, you start using your crampons, your ice axe, you have all your ropes and your harness. And actually the day after base camp, there's 4 camps above base camp till you get to the summit. And from base camp to camp 1 is a very like technical, dangerous part of the mountain called the Khumbu ice fall. And that's a part that gets a lot of people for sure. Just a lot of times you have to turn around, and it's also very dangerous in the ice fall. It's constantly changing every day. There's avalanches all the time, and you actually have to like jump over crevasses, climb over ladders across crevasses and do some vertical climbing. So it's definitely very, very difficult, very physically, mentally, emotionally challenging. And then from there, we actually we do this thing called acclimatizing in the mountains, because you're at such a high elevation. The top of Everest is 29,029 feet. And that is a very, tallest point in the world. It's very high. So you would feel so bad if it would be almost near impossible to just go up and summit like quickly without being acclimatized. So what we do is we go up on the acclimatization route, is what it's called. And it's basically just climbing higher and then going back and resting lower on the mountain so that your body gets used to the altitude. And then you're able to climb much more easily. So it took us 8 days to go to base camp, and then me and my Sherpa were the only ones from there on out. And we did a 4-day acclimatization route up to camp 3 and back down to base camp, and then rested at base camp for 4 days. Just we were at the very beginning of the climbing season, so we had to wait for all the ropes to be put in, for everything to be checked. And then as soon as that was ready, we went up. And it took us a week in total, up and down, back to base camp, to this base camp, to the summit, and back to base camp. So that was kind of how that trip looked.
Yeah. And I'm going to ask you later on about kind of surprising details of mountaineering and climbing, but that's the one that I had heard before that just kind of surprised me in the past. It makes total sense, but just the need to, not just go, you have to acclimate. When I've watched videos of people doing even base camp, like they stay in one spot for like a day just to kind of get used to the elevation, and then before they move on. So there's always those rest days for elevation, which makes sense, but something I never would have even thought about.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a side of mountaineering that's not like super publicized, or like, super, it's not like, you see a bunch of people like climbing on cliffs and like doing all this hardcore stuff, but there's a lot that goes into that, a lot of just technical aspects.
Yeah. And you mentioned it was you and your Sherpa. Did your dad not go with you on this trip?
Yeah, this was actually my first summit I did without him, just because the cost of Everest is so high that we couldn't afford to bring two people up there. So I just went alone, and yeah, it was a crazy experience just being on the mountain for the first time without my dad, just me and my Sherpa, who I loved my Sherpa, but it was definitely, very different. And I did get one of the hardest parts, actually probably the hardest part for me, was just being away from like home for that long, because usually my dad is like kind of my tie to home up there in the mountains, and just being completely, alone for almost 20 days it's hard for sure, not knowing a bunch of people up there. So yeah, I would get pretty homesick at times, but yeah, that was definitely a challenging part for me.
I can only imagine just being away somewhere kind of new and foreign is already scary enough, but then to be doing something like that, I can only imagine just the mental aspect of that. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about next. I heard you say before that, the mental side of mountaineering climbing is half the battle, if not more. So talk a little bit about the mental aspects of, doing all these things.
Yeah, mountaineering is more, I mean, every sport has that mental aspect to it, but mountaineering more than any other sport has that huge like mental side of it. That's honestly more important than the physical one. And I mean, you're just hiking for hours and hours on end. Like our summit day was 15 hours in total. And just to have the mental like abilities, the mental grit to keep going for 15 hours, just one foot in front of the other, even though your body might feel absolutely horrible and you might be tired, you might be cold. There's so many elements that can turn you around, and having that mental, that mental ability to accept the challenge and to really thrive in that domain is super important to climbing. And it's super hard. I mean, you're being on the mountain for 27 days is very challenging. No showers, no, like the food isn't great. It's not luxurious at all.
Yeah, I'm sure of that. Yeah, I know that your mantra is that limits are perceived, but let's say that, those limits sometimes do limit you and do just that. Talk about how you kind of overcome failure and overcome things that don't go exactly the way that you hope, because I'm sure that happens at least on a semi-regular basis when you're trying to do these things. Nature doesn't always, work in your favor.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. How I kind of have overcome challenges over the years is just to really like trust in my own abilities, and to also just like trust that I'm a very strong Christian. So I trust that, God has like a plan in everything that happens in the mountains. Like, even, I mean, before you go in the mountains, you have to know the risks and that really accept those risks, because there's always a chance that you won't come back. I mean, you're going into very unknown territory that is constantly changing and is very dangerous. So just really accepting that and wanting to do it anyway. That's something that is challenging for a lot of people, but I can't stay away from the mountains. I love them so much. Maybe too much, but yeah, when I'm like have to turn around, there was a mountain when I was 13 we were actually going to summit the last mountain that I had to complete the 50 state high points, Denali. And we got all the way to high camp. It took us 21 days, and there was an accident on the mountain. And just for reasons that we couldn't control, we couldn't go up. They made us turn around, and we didn't even get a chance to attempt the summit, which was really, really challenging, really hard for me to accept that. And I didn't, like, for a few years after that, I didn't even know if I wanted to continue mountaineering, just because I put so much time and energy and effort, into climbing, into this climb, and I didn't even get the chance to summit. And that's when I really realized, like, in those years that I was away from the mountains, that I don't really, I don't climb for the summit. I climb because I just love the experience. I love the mountains. I love that adrenaline you get when you're up there, and just being completely surrounded by nature. completely immersed and by yourself. And that's when you learn so much about yourself. You learn so much about the world around you, the people around you, in those environments. So that's why I love climbing, and to push my limits, to see how far my body can go. And ever since then, like, even if I have to, I have to turn around. Even on Everest one day, we had to turn around and go back down because conditions were bad, and I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to go back up, and it was scary. It was really challenging, but just accepting that, like, knowing that there's some purpose in that, has really helped me get through the challenges.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of maybe a silly question though, but when you look at mountains, obviously they're a peak. When we're talking about summits, is it literally the exact top of this mountain? Do they kind of determine where the summit is, or are you really going to nothing but sky above you?
Yeah, nothing but sky above you. The summit is like literally the highest spot on the mountain. So wherever that is, you got to get to.
Yeah, that's something. And you talked about doing Mount Everest on your own and kind of leaving family behind, either at base camp or somewhere else. And the other mental side of things, you talked about, the summit in Alaska and how you had to turn around the first time. If I remember correctly, that accident had resulted in someone, losing their life. So obviously this is a huge thing. And now to do it alone and leave your family behind, and people know the Everest is, it's more, I guess it's more likely that it's not successful than, just walking around in a foreign country. So what was it like, knowing that you're leaving your family behind, and, it's possible something doesn't go well. So that would be a huge mental aspect for you and your family. I feel like maybe harder for them because they're just helpless, waiting, hoping everything's okay.
Yeah, it might be harder for them because, I have like control over how things go, or at least some control more than them, and they're just waiting there. So yeah, it's really hard to say goodbye. It is, especially when this was my first time I had to say goodbye to everyone, because usually I have my dad there with me. But yeah, saying goodbye to him was a lot harder than I expected, because I was like, I was kind of excited. I was like, I'm going to climb this mountain by myself for the first time. I want that independence. It's going to be great. But then, it was really hard to just not have him there. So that was challenging for sure. And then saying goodbye to my mom every time is really hard, and my brother. But they just have so much faith in me, so much confidence that has really grown over time. Like, when I was little, it was definitely harder for my mom to let me go, even though the mountains were little. Like, she knows, she has faith in my abilities now, and so do I.
It's just such an amazing thing that a lot of people, probably 90% of the mountains that you've done are like the tallest most people have done, period. So I'm just wondering if it's almost became I don't know, I don't want to say you've been jaded to it, but you and your family, like these huge accomplishments, it's almost like, that's just Lucy. She's able to do these things. So I just wonder where you're at with that, because there's a lot of people doing really, really amazing things. I've talked to them over the years, and they almost, start getting a little bit used to doing such awesome things that they forget just how, amazing the things that they're doing is. So it's probably hard for you even to answer that, but do you ever feel like you ever have to take a step back and realize this is a pretty big thing and I'm just doing it like nothing?
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially these, like, when you get to the summit of a mountain, like, every mountain's a little different, and everyone, like, you have that like thrill of, but yeah, it does get a little like you get used to it, like, you get used to like getting to the summit. You get used to seeing like these beautiful peaks and the glaciers and everything, and you definitely get a little numb to, like, especially to the fear of like heights and everything. That's where I've noticed kind of getting jaded the most, is like that fear aspect just gets kind of less and less the more you do it. And yeah, like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish this was like my first peak, like, just having that feeling of summiting your first mountain is amazing. Like, yeah, you don't get that again. You really don't. But it's always amazing.
Yeah. Do you have any traditions once you do get to the summit, whether it's eating the candy bars, screaming at the top of your lungs, anything you do when you're up there?
No, honestly, I just take it all in. Yeah,
That's a good thing.
nothing too crazy, but but yeah, I always take a picture with the top just to, have
Yeah.
that proof. But other than that, yeah, no, that would be a good one though. Eat
Yeah.
something cool.
Yeah. And how long are you able to stay on the top? I don't know whether you've got, I mean, I don't even know if these are true, but I've seen things with Everest, how there's a ton of people trying to do it and people have to just move on. So are you spending days and days and then you're at the top and it's like, all right, it's time to come back down. We've been up here for 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that there is lines sometimes on Everest for sure. But for us, it was more of a line when we actually started the summit day, which we started at 9 p.m. and we had like 30 minutes of clear hiking, and then after that we just hit this long, long line of people, which was awful. Just because yeah, you take a few steps and then you're just standing there waiting. And I was like falling asleep in this line. It was so
Mm.
horrible. But and it's really one-way traffic on Everest. Like it's a one-lane road because you have these fixed lines, which are basically like lines that are anchored into the mountain from base camp almost all the way to the top that you're supposed to be constantly roped into. It's really hard to get around people. And it's really, yeah, just like a one-lane road. But luckily, being my Sherpa allowed me, to kind of like get off of that and just clip our harnesses together, so we had a little bit of safety and hike around some people. But
Mm.
that was just really hard in itself because there's no pack trail when you're going around people. You're falling into like snow up to your knees, up to your thighs, which is so hard to hike in. So
Mm.
luckily, by the time we got to the summit, we were actually one of the first people to get there. So there was not very much traffic at all, probably like 10, 15 other people up there. And I was able to be on the top for a good like 25 minutes around that time. So that was awesome.
No, absolutely. And I think that's probably something else that would surprise people, that there is like a line to head up to the top. I think people envision these things as you're almost doing it on your own. So I want to kind of get into that. What are maybe some surprising parts of climbing these really major mountains, whether it's things that are easier that people think would be harder, things that are harder that people think would be easier, or funny details or anything surprising?
Yeah, I'd say well, with the whole like climbing and not being on your own, definitely depends on the mountain a lot. Everest has become a very, publicized mountain, a thing that a lot of people want to do. And there's been only about 4,000 people ever to summit Everest.
Mm.
But a lot of them have been in the past few years. It's been getting very, yeah, very just well known, very sought after. So yeah, there can be lines, which is definitely annoying sometimes. And also one of the reasons is behind that is because the climbing season for Everest is like, for these big mountains, it's very short. It's like
Mm.
a month and a half, 2 months at the most.
Mm.
And in those few months, there's only a few really good weather windows, really good days. So if like everyone who's climbing the Everest, like is trying to summit that day, like there's very few days that you can summit. So that's why that line becomes, such a thing, such a big deal. Um, but some other kind of just like interesting facts is, I'd say one of the hardest parts that people don't really think about is just like the logistics behind like eating and going to the bathroom and things like that, because you're just roped up constantly when you're climbing. And even when you're not, roped up, you're carrying all your gear up. So it has to be very light. So we have these like jet boil stoves where they're just gas. So you don't carry your own water up. Well, when there's snow, at least on the mountain, because that would just create a whole new element that would make your pack so heavy. It would be impossible to carry up water for like 27 days on the
Mm.
mountain. So yeah, so we melt snow to create water. So the main thing, like a very important part, is gas, bringing enough gas, because you got to connect your stove to it, got to melt the snow to get water. And then with food, you basically just bring, freeze dried meals, which is just a bag that you can pour boiling water into, and it like makes the meal for you, which nowadays actually they've gotten really, really good. Like I actually really enjoy like some freeze dried meals
Mm.
for sure. Like some of them are delicious. And then just snacks too. My favorite snacks, I always have these like 3 snacks that I only eat on the mountain because they're like special for the mountain, and it's like these specific like bars of chocolate. They're like little chocolate, like balls, gummy worms, and then Oreos. Those are my three things that it's just like what you crave up on at altitude is different for everyone's body, and for me, it's like simple sugars, is what I crave. I can't eat like nuts or anything. It's too. I just like. Well, you just get so nauseous with some things. Altitude is very strange how it hits your body, and just lack of appetite is a big thing up there. So so you got to have the food that works for you for sure.
Yeah, I was with you for these like specific balls, but you're telling me you only eat Oreos on a mountain? Oreos are a big staple. You're like, nah, I don't eat them other than when you're climbing.
Yep, just when I'm climbing.
All right. Well, I guess that just keeps you on the mountains more so you can eat those Oreos, right?
Exactly. That's the only reason I go up there.
There you go. Yeah. Tell us more about the Explorers Grand Slam. You told us what it was, but where are you at currently with it? I know when you kind of set out, you said you'd already done 3. Are you still at 3? Or I think you've got more done now, right?
Yeah, now I've actually done 5 of them now. So I've done Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa, Denali, the highest one in North America. Aconcagua is the highest one in South America, and then also Mount Elbrus, which is the highest one in Europe. So I have and Everest, which is the highest one in Asia. So right now I have Antarctica, which is Mount Vincent, is the highest mountain in Antarctica. And then also that same expedition, I'll ski to the South Pole, the last degree of that. And then another expedition is to the highest mountain in Oceania, which is Karsten's Pyramid in Papua New Guinea. And then going to the North Pole as well, skiing the last degree of the North Pole. So that's what's up next.
Well, that's awesome. So people listening to this, I always like to just kind of, I guess, clear any of the fog. You talked about how your dad didn't go with you on Everest because it is a expensive thing and you're doing all these amazing things. Do you fundraise for this? Are you just blessed, or a lot of people are going to listen to this and think, well, this sounds great, but this is just, they can just see the dollar sign. So it's not a cheap thing. So I always like to point that out for people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely not. And actually the biggest struggle for me right now is just fundraising because these mountains are so expensive. And my family doesn't have the funds to just, be able to climb all these mountains without help. So for Everest, I was actually blessed to receive, I was the recipient of a grape nuts, like literally the cereal grape nuts. They gave out a this kind of like scholarship, this grant for different women, for 10 different women this year to celebrate their 125th anniversary. And it was basically women who are pioneering in the outdoors that are, doing things that not a lot of people do, because mountaineering is definitely a very male dominated sport for sure. And my Everest climb, one of the things I, was really publicizing is, to help raise awareness and get more women in the outdoors, because it's something women and young people are very underrepresented groups for sure. So it was amazing to receive. I received $12,500 from them, which put a huge dent in my Everest cost, which is amazing. And then I have some corporate sponsors too, from the city like Naperville, which is where I live. And then I have a GoFundMe page where I raise money, which is just, Lucy Climbs is the GoFundMe, and I'm raising money for all my climbs that way. So that's been a huge help. And I'm definitely just looking for sponsors, trying to get sponsorships, things like that, to help fund these climbs. And I actually started an Etsy shop as well, but that 100% of the donations actually go to safe water projects, which is one of my big passions. So that's been amazing as well. Lots of fundraising.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's almost weird to say, believe me, I wish you said, nah, my family just is bankrolling it all and it's all good. But I feel like it almost means more. It almost means more that you are, fundraising, and that anyone can just throw money at stuff and make it happen. But to really put all the effort into it, I think it just makes it more special. Maybe while you're in the nitty gritty and fundraising, you don't feel like it. But I think at the end of the day, it probably is more special that way.
Yeah, true. You appreciate it a lot more. And that's one of the aspects of mountaineering that I don't love, is how exclusive it is with the money. Like, it's a sport that you have to have a lot of money to do. So, and there are major amazing, foundations out there that definitely, try to equal the playing field, but
Yeah.
it's still a big problem. Yeah.
Yeah, and you talked just in the Explorers Grand Slam, some of the awesome places you've been to scale these mountains, and then you've been a lot of other places too. You talked about in the middle of Kansas and how you're able to see areas that you never would have. But that kind of brings up a good question, where you're going all these amazing places, and these treks, these expeditions take upwards of 2 weeks to a month to complete. Are you able to ever build in time to, while you're in Africa, to explore, which may be a bad one because I know you do some kind of mission work there too, but or when you're in Alaska to actually explore, or is it kind of get in, get out? I only have a certain amount of time. I got to do this mountain. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to do much while I was in, Nepal and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it definitely varies a lot on the mountains. Like in Nepal, I actually had a good amount of time. Well, like not an amazing amount of time, but like 2 days before, 2 days after to kind of just explore Kathmandu. So I always have like a few days, but it usually is kind of a more get in, get out situation just because I've been in high school. So it's just so hard to find the time anyway. Like usually it's over, pushed into winter break. I like try to climb a mountain or like a short time in the summer, but yeah, it's very hard it's been very hard to like find that time. And I definitely want to, there's so many places I want to explore, so many places I love traveling and just experiencing new cultures and people. So yeah, I'd love like in the future, hopefully, I mean, college, I probably won't have that much time, but after college, even like just, yeah, taking more time to really like appreciate, just spend more time in the places that I get to go to. Cause yeah, it has definitely, my life's been very a little hectic recently for sure.
So you squeeze these in on like breaks. It's not that you're taking time out of school, because I just think that it would super interesting. What did you do over winter break? Oh, I hung out with my friends and watched Netflix. What did you do? I climbed Mount Everest.
Basically, yeah, I try, and I do miss it, like some school for it for sure, but I try to like keep it to a minimum because it's hard to make up those that work for sure.
Right. Your teachers aren't just like, never mind, you don't have to do your work.
I occasionally, so actually this like semester they were really nice. It was really great because my school allowed me to graduate a semester early so that I could I mean I did all the requirements and everything to graduate, but yeah, they were really amazing about like giving me the opportunity to do that, and my coach as well. So yeah, so I got to graduate actually in December in order to do Everest, and I did Aconcagua, which is the highest mountain in South America. And like you said, I was able to go over to Africa. I do mission work there with the World Water and Sanitation Crisis. It's one of my passions. So I was able to go over to Kenya and live there for 7 weeks. So it's been amazing.
No, I think that's really cool for sure. Yeah, I guess I want to kind of get into the ESPY thing. I know that's what's coming up next. You won an award there, the Billie Jean King Award. Talk a little bit about what that award is, because I think it kind of ties into some of this extra work that you're doing, and then also what it what it felt like to realize that you were nominated and that you won something.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that. It's actually, well, by the time this comes out, it'll have happened. But right now, I'm gonna leave for it tomorrow. But the actual award, the Billie Jean King Award, is typically for athletes that are just doing something really profound, really changing their sport in a way. But this year in specific, it's about women and bridging the gender gap within your sport, which is very cool just because it's, the anniversary of all the movements, to get women into sports. So that was amazing, all the Title IX things. But so I was a recipient of this award because through my climb on Everest, I sought to, bring awareness and to really just fight to bring more women into the outdoors. And with the money and all the award, I'm actually starting a scholarship that will hopefully be a yearly thing so it's through the All Summit Scholarship Foundation, which is an amazing organization that seeks to bring women into the outdoors and be guided by women and just, create these opportunities for people who maybe they can't financially get into the mountains, or they don't know much about it. They just want to learn more. So I'm hoping to start this scholarship that'll create opportunities for people to get like expeditions to the mountains. So that's really cool. Just not only to receive the award, but to be able to really give back to this sport I love, and to help other people discover their love for it.
No, that's really, really awesome. Congratulations with that. That's really cool for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I know you just mentioned it though, the award comes from, not just the amazing things that you've done being able to, summit these mountains, but the amazing things that you're doing outside of that for some of these other passions. So talk about some of those. You mentioned it already with water step and accessible drinking water and some of this other stuff. So tell us a little bit more about, that side of your passion.
Yeah. I've been involved in the world water and sanitation crisis for a while. My family, I've had a friend that lives in Uganda, and her family didn't have access to safe drinking water. So when I was 13, my family and I were able to actually put in a filter that gave her and her family and her whole village safe drinking water. So ever since then, just having that experience and just seeing the way that so many people in this world live, and how privileged we are here in the US to have just, drinking water at our fingertips. Just seeing that really just gave me a passion for the world water and sanitation crisis. So I've done a lot of work with this charity called Water Step that is based out of Louisville, Kentucky, where I used to live. And yeah, I have an Etsy shop now where all of the donations go to Water Step and to just creating safe water projects in Kenya and Uganda. And I just, I try to use whatever platform I have, which right now is Mountaineering, to raise money and awareness for the water crisis. And in college, I'm going to study public policy and minor in social entrepreneurship, because after college, it's something I really want to, my career to be in.
Yeah, I think that's really cool too. What made you, I know that you're going to USC, so you're going all the way out to California and running track, which is another part of your world is running. Why USC?
Yeah. A big reason is because of the running. The track is an amazing program, and I love the coach. He's an amazing guy, and I think I'll connect really well with him for sure. And then another part of that is just the academics for what I want to go into. The academics have always been really important to me. So, that USC is an amazing school for public policy and business. So I'm super excited for that. And then also just, I've never lived anywhere with, mountains, and I know LA isn't the most, right in the mountains or anything, but it's close enough, being on the West Coast. I love the beach as well. So, it's kind of got beach, mountains to either side of it. And I'm just so ready to get into that world, to really, be able to climb more, do some rock climbing, things like that. So that's a big draw for me for sure as well.
No, that'll be awesome for sure. And you talked about kind of the mountains around that area, but that kind of makes me think, I guess in the future, you're doing all these huge mountains and you've got your whole rest of your life climbing mountains. I wonder if there's just the rest of this time is just going to be this is small potatoes. Just in my own life, I went to Costa Rica about 5 years ago and did zip lining through the rainforest in Costa Rica. And then for the last 5 years, I've done all these different zip lines around me, and I'm like, ugh, this is nothing. This means nothing. This is silly. So I feel like you've set yourself up now to all these other mountains are just going to be yawn material for you.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I feel like I just love I love the mountains so much that they're all so different too. Every single one poses a different challenge, and you can find more challenging mountains than Everest. Just different rock faces, different routes. There's so many ways to change even one mountain. There's just so many places I've yet to explore that I want to. And I know, in the continental US, there isn't a ton of, huge mountains. But I want to go to the Andes. I want to climb more in the Alps. And like in the Himalayas as well. So there's just so I don't think I'll ever, like run out of mountains or my passion for climbing, just because I mean Everest was amazing, but there's just so many beautiful mountains out there that I want to climb that I can't wait to do.
Right. No, I'm glad to hear that, because I feel like once you do kind of do get so used to it, and then you don't take it as seriously, that's when we're going to see, like, Lucy broke her neck climbing Hoosier Hill or something like that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I hope that never happens.
No, I'm kidding, but I mean, I'm sure you've got to take them all. You got to respect every mountain that you're on.
Oh, for sure. Yes, definitely.
And again, I picked Hoosier Hill because you literally can drive up to the top of that. There's nothing. It's not even. It's just a hill, literally.
That would be very hard to break your neck on.
It would. It would. Tell us. You talked about the Etsy shop. I want you to just kind of plug all the different things you've got. I know you got TikTok. You got Etsy. Tell us what's on Etsy and exactly, again, where those funds are going. Talk about YouTube, Instagram, whatever you want to plug away, please.
Yeah, for sure. So with my social medias, my main one I use probably Instagram. So my Instagram is lucy.westlake.22. And I post about basically everything there. Recently I've been doing more TikTok. So yeah, my TikTok is also like Lucy Westlake. So yeah, just look that up. It should come up. And then my YouTube, I do YouTube videos like occasionally for big expeditions. I do like Everest, I made a YouTube video, Denali, and then some other like climbing ones. So that for sure as well is Lucy Westlake on YouTube. And then yeah, for my Etsy shop, that is Lucy Climbs on Etsy, and that is I sell sweatshirts, I sell t-shirts and stickers, and there's like an Everest one. There's just one, I have like a logo for Lucy Climbs is my brand. So my logo brand and there's different options with that. So definitely check that out if you want. 100% of the profits go to safe water projects in Kenya and Uganda. And right now it's mostly through Water Step, which is an amazing, I mean, if you go to waterstep.org, you can learn all about them. They're an amazing organization. But I also want to kind of get into doing safe water projects on my own. And I work with my friend actually in Uganda, on where we have a lot of ideas on what we can do with these safe water projects in the future. So yeah, that's what the funds go to with that. And then my GoFundMe is also just Lucy Climbs on GoFundMe. So that's all my stuff. I'm also on Facebook as well. So lucy.westlake.22.
Yeah, I saw you in an interview talk about how you're not very good at Facebook, which makes me feel like an old man, because I remember when Facebook's like pretty much started. Have you learned Facebook better, or are you still like a noob about Facebook?
I honestly just try to tie all of my Instagram, just like post to Facebook. So that's like why, that's how I do that. But yeah, no, I'm not very good at it. I'm not.
That's funny.
Instagram is definitely like my jam.
Yeah, I hear you there. Yeah, I mean, in wrapping things up with the climbing and your family, obviously you're going to do the ESPYs. You've done all this amazing stuff. We talked about being jaded earlier, but what does your family say about all of this? I mean, you've just accomplished so much, and now you're about ready to start college. So much at such a young age. Are they just almost in awe of all this, or are they like, yeah, Lucy, you're not that cool. Go clean your room.
I think they definitely, I mean, we've all gotten a little bit used to it, but definitely, I mean, it's still kind of like, a shock for sure, especially after Everest. I had never expected all this media attention. So yeah, I mean, it's something that's been really exciting in all of our lives for sure. And yeah, I know they're really proud of me. So it's been awesome having their support through it all.
I'm sure they are. So last question is just what you hope the future holds. I know USC is in the immediate future. You mentioned the degree you want to go for, but if we were having this conversation in 5-10 years, where do you hope you're at?
Yeah. So I definitely am going to take it like just one step at a time, college next, focusing on the Explorers Grand Slam. But But I hope in the future, if my running goes well, I'd love to get more into marathoning. And that's something I want to do after college, or at least like, that long distance running. And, maybe see if the Olympics are a possibility. That would be amazing. And yeah, just get more into mountaineering. I want to just explore, like more of the Alps. I recently like visited there and I actually love them so much. So I'd love to get into more of like the technical side of climbing with that.
I love it. Well, we will stay tuned and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was great to talk to you.
So that was Lucy Westlake. What an amazing person. You can't help but be inspired by just the feats that she's accomplished, and then to have accomplished them at the age that she is. I have no doubt in a few years, maybe even less, we're going to be talking about her being the youngest person to do even more things, including that the Explorers Grand Slam. No doubt about that. And I'm just fascinated and excited to see what else she's got in store between USC, between her Etsy shop and all the work she's doing on the watershed projects. Just an amazing person. It doesn't matter if she's 18 or 88. She's accomplished so much, and she's got so much more impact to make in the world, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that is. So go check her out on her website. I'll put that in the show notes, lucywestlake.com. Go check her out on all of her social media. Go to that Etsy website. All of that will be in the show notes. Of course, go check us out. The contest from last week is still going on. 100th episode last week. Thanks for everyone who has already entered the contest, but for those who don't already know, to celebrate the 100th episode, I'm giving away $100. Whether it's a gift card, whether it's a gas card, we'll talk about what makes the most sense for you. If you're not a U.S. resident, we'll get that converted to your currency. But all you have to do is go follow us on Instagram, leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify or both. Leave a written review on Apple if you have Apple Podcast, and email me or DM me on Instagram. Let me know you've done both. Send me some screenshots of that. Show me that you're engaged, and you'll be entered to win that $100. So $100 is $100. So might as well enter. I can't imagine that it'd take you more than 30 seconds to do everything you need to do that. So ask you to do that and get you entered. Those who have already entered, super happy about that. Thanks so much. Yeah, what an amazing week. Amazing person. Go check her out. Enter that contest. So follow us, all that kind of great stuff. But until next week, take it away, Chris.
This has been Not in a Huff with Jackson Huff. Thank you for listening. Be sure to join us next time, where we will interview another amazing guest who is sure to make you laugh or make you think. Or, hey, maybe even both. But until then, keep being awesome.